I have the keys to a 2012 Porsche Cayman R. This one has been lightly modified to do well on track. I'll be driving it and giving you my impressions.
Be sure to log into your YouTube account, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a video.
When the first 987 Cayman was released in 2006, it was the Cayman S. Porsche skipped the non-S for the Cayman's debut, only to start selling it in 2007. Yet one thing most auto journalists at the time could agree about it was it needed more, not less, horsepower. 3 years passed before the Cayman received its mid-cycle update to the 987.2 generation in 2009. New engines bumped horsepower from 295 to 320 in the Cayman S and proved more durable, yet gains were only modest. Porsche's new PDK dual-clutch transmission was also introduced that year and proved to be an arguably more significant performance enhancer than the new engine, thanks to its quick shifts and perfect rev matching. At the end of the 987.2 Cayman's product cycle, Porsche finally built the Cayman we had always wanted, the 2012 Cayman R. Well, maybe they didn't actually, but it was close. More on that later. When new, a Cayman R costs $67,250 before any options, including PDK. In 2023, $50,000 to $80,000 seems to be the sale range, depending on condition, mileage, and other factors. Because there were no Cayman Rs for sale on the mart at the time of recording, I'm relying on Bring a Trailer sale data, and that figures as the Cayman R is quite rare, with just 563 sold new in the US and 61 in Canada. Porsche got a lot right with the Cayman R. Built in Stuttgart, it had a specialness about it that's hard to nail down. 330 horsepower, 10 more than a Cayman S, is all the extra power Porsche decided to give the Cayman R, which is disappointing, in theory at least. But the steel doors were replaced by lightweight aluminum units. The suspension was tuned for backroad driving and track duty, utilizing analog rather than electronically adaptive shocks. No PASM here. The aero was tweaked, with the fixed rear wing replacing the retractable one on the S. Porsche gave the Cayman R something that was sorely lacking in the model line until then, a limited slip differential. If this sounds a lot like the contemporary Boxster Spyder, you're right, as the Cayman R pulled most of its performance goodies from the Spyder's bag. The focus here is on lightweight and handling, not power. Will it be enough to win me over?
About to start this drive in the 2012 Porsche Cayman R. And start it up, and right there you hear one of this car's modifications. That is a sole exhaust, cats and mufflers. It gives it a nice, deep, loud sound, but not too loud. So the 2012 Cayman R was Porsche's hot rod Cayman, the top of the line of the mid-engine rear-wheel drive coupe model that Porsche made and ended actually in the 987.2 generation in 2012. So this is a final year model. This is a track car for this owner. So this has been modified with brake pads and fluid for the track, and also it has a transmission oil sump extension in aluminum, so it's more durable and also provides more transmission fluid to help keep the transmission cool on a track day. Something the owner told me is that it's very likely that at this time there are no more brand new Cayman R specific PDK transmissions available for purchase from Porsche, and these things are expensive, over $20,000 from what I've been told. Therefore, keeping the transmission in good working order through that sump extension is a very important thing to do on a Cayman R if you're planning on making it your track car. This car also has Alcantara as an option everywhere. It's one of the few options aside from the PDK transmission that it has. So the center console area right here, apparently underneath the handbrake, I guess, in case you bash your knuckles on the hard plastic, this Alcantara will protect you or something. I don't know, make it softer. Alcantara everywhere on the headliner. It's not a GT car, but on the inside it almost feels like one. As you might know, the Cayman R is the progenitor to the, or the ancestor to the GT4 in GT4 RS. However, back then, this came with just a slightly modified flat six. It gave you, I think, 5 or 10 more horsepower for 330 horsepower in the Cayman R, a little bit less than the Boxster Spyder, I believe, and 273 pound-feet of torque. So not a ton of power compared to the 981 or 982/718 GT4s with the GT4 RS, but for the time, it was the most you could get. All right, so here we go. Steering is pretty heavy. We have Continental Extreme Contact Sport tires on this car, which are very track-focused tires, not the sticky 200s autocross tires or the ones that will last you maybe a track day. These should last a bit longer, but still give you the pace, or just about the pace of the fastest 200 treadwear tires. So the exhaust is not super intrusive. I like it. It started up, it gives you a little bit of a roar, and then just puttering around, you got this burble that just really gives the car a really badass sort of sound. So I'm going to keep it in automatic for a second. And this PDK transmission, I've just been driving a bunch of 997s and .2s that have PDK, and for some reason this one feels more refined and slicker or faster shifting than other PDKs from this era. So I'm wondering if that's really just the shift programming and things that are different with it. Now I'm going to put it into sport. Cayman R came with non-PASM dampers. They were sport-tuned analog shocks and a suspension that was specific to the car. They lowered it a bit, made it better handling, and I believe they also slightly tweaked the anti-roll bars on this car compared to the Boxster Spyder. Now manual mode and sport mode. Actually, I'll turn sport mode off. No, I've already shifted with it on or off. So it's on. Yeah, pretty quick shifts. Actually, the downshifts are funny. They're not as crisp as the upshifts. They're really quick. But yeah, stiff car, not too stiff. It's almost like the perfect setting for road and track. Now time to downshift a little bit. Yeah, that's a very nice sounding car. Very nice sounding car. So the seats, they're not the carbon fiber back sport buckets. These are the comfort seats, but they actually they're very comfortable. First off, they do a really good job with the bolstering of keeping you in your place. So the Alcantara also helps with that. It's a very sticky material, and you won't be sliding around like you would be on leather. So yeah, very pleasant car. You have all the creature comforts you could want, but you also have that sporty feeling and sporty performance stepped up another level that the regular Cayman and Cayman S just don't quite have. Just to note, again, 330 horsepower. This is a direct fuel injection motor, the 9A1 generation. It does not have an intermediate shaft, which means it does not have an intermediate shaft bearing. The earlier M97 and M96 engines of the 987 and 986, earlier 987.1 and 986 Boxsters is gone, and I had my blinker on getting over to turn, and that guy still honked at me. That was really weird. So yeah, M97 had an intermediate shaft. It also had an intermediate shaft bearing. Those could fail. They didn't fail often by the time the 987.1 Cayman came out, but it still can be a problem on some cars, very small percentage. But without an IMS, intermediate shaft or intermediate shaft bearing, there are much fewer problems that these cars have. All right, time to go to Sport Plus. Yeah, definitely shifts quicker. I'm gonna go down to second. Oh yeah, I ran into the limiter. So it's funny, so PDK shifts nowadays so quick, but there is a lag on these older cars. Let's try that again. Yeah, you gotta anticipate the shift a little bit. In PDK Sport, wow. Just like in the 997 Carrera 4S that I drove yesterday, you put it into PDK Sport, and or you put it into Sport Plus mode, and the transmission just knocks off those shifts super quick and gives you a shove in the back. If you have it in sport mode, which it's not just PDK, actually, I should note, it's also throttle response changes and gets sharper as you go up to Sport and Sport Plus. Yeah, very nice and smooth shifts when you're in PDK. And there are those brakes, those aggressive pads will make some noise as you are on the brakes. Now I'm going to get on the brakes a little bit hard because why not? This is what that car is meant for, and there's nobody behind me. Yeah, that's some pretty nice braking power right there. Very progressive pedal feel, which I like. Not too touchy. This almost seems like the perfect autocross car and track car, which I can see why the owner uses this for those purposes, particularly track. I don't think he autocrosses this, or at least not very often. So back into drive, and in sport mode, it'll downshift nice and quick. I love how the steering wheel loads up. This was still the hydraulic steering era, and on top of that, these stickier tires, these 200 treadwear Continentals, I'm wondering if they help firm up the steering wheel a little bit and make the feel through the steering wheel that much better. Yeah, and you can tell the suspension in the Cayman R is sport tuned from the factory. There's a lot less body roll than in stock non-Cayman R Caymans from this era. It really is. It's almost a GT car. It's so close. It's funny, I was about getting ready to heel toe downshift there, and nope. Only 2 pedals in this car. Man, this is wow, nice car. It is, if I could sum this car up in one word, it's balance. This car is all about balance. The power is enough to get going quickly, but not enough to get into serious trouble. You know, it's in a car like this, you're probably not going to have quite enough power to break the rear end loose if you stab the throttle in every single turn. It'll do that, I'm sure, but what I'm getting is the feeling of everything's in balance. The steering, how the shift paddles work, the brakes. The brakes are a very progressive setup right now that you don't always feel when hopping into Porsche. Sometimes they're a little touchy at the top of the pedal and then get nice and firm or progressive as you mash down a little bit further. And some require a little bit more effort. This one's just right. So balance, that's the word that this car embodies. Now, on to the ratings. So, car show. Cayman R is a rare car. You're not going to find them everywhere. And you really don't see them out on the road all that often. If you're at a PCA event, they show up from time to time. But you're not going to see them every day. The one issue with the Cayman R is that if you are looking at it from the front and you don't really know what to look for, it can kind of look like a Cayman S or even maybe a base Cayman, although the wheels are kind of small for it to be confused with an S or an R. But a Cayman R kind of looks like a Cayman S. And that's until you go to the back and see that fixed rear spoiler, which is not normal GT car large. It is a pretty small spoiler. I'm sure it does the job. This car is also white, which is a great color for these cars, but it doesn't really stand out. I think I'm going to have to give this Cayman R an 8.5, almost partly based on rarity, but also because it is a cool looking car and it's got that spoiler. And if you know what you're looking at, people will be excited to see it, including myself, at a car show. For daily driving, you could certainly daily drive this car. And if it weren't so rare, if I owned this car and it weren't so rare, I actually might consider it. You know, if the budget could afford to maintain a car like this to daily drive year round. The suspension is, as I said, non-PASM. You get one setting because they're analog shocks, but Porsche did so well to tune them that they're not only good when you're trying to drive quickly, but not too bad when you're just driving around on the street. There's plenty of storage in the front and the trunk, just like usual, and even, you know, over the engine cover. So as for daily driving, again, because it's so rare, maybe it won't score super high, you know, as high as it could maybe, but I think I'm comfortable giving this an 8.25 for daily driving. And also, even with that exhaust, it's not so loud that it affects the score. I don't think people who don't like loud exhaust would be really all that bothered with this one. It's very nice. Good job on Soul Performance. Road trip is the next score. Now, a lot of times cars that do well at daily driving do even better at road trips because all the things that make them a good daily driver usually translate into them being a better road tripper. Because this car is a little bit louder, a little bit stiffer than a Cayman S or base Cayman, I think I'm going to give it the same score as daily driving, 8.25. Tons of storage, as I said, so you know, I know for a fact, having driven a 987 Cayman with a ton of luggage and a passenger, you can fit a lot into this car. So great road trip car. Maybe it's a little bit too edgy for the average person. Now, fun factor, this is where that edginess really comes into play. This feels like a track car. It doesn't feel so serious as a GT car. It has sort of levity to it that a GT car maybe doesn't quite have. And I think that is purely because this engine is not a GT3 engine. It is a slightly tuned Cayman S engine, and in this case with an exhaust. And you just don't get that feeling that I'm serious, I want to go fast. I mean, it does want to go fast, but hard to explain. So I like cars like that, ones that you can just hop in and drive and not really worry about too much. And this feels like one of those cars when I hop into it. Very comfortable, nice engine, nice power, great gearbox. And I know for a fact how fun Caymans are on an autocross course, on a back road. And though I haven't driven mine on a track, I know they're great track cars as well, as the owner has told me about this car. So I'm going to give this, I'm wavering, it's going to be above a 9. I'm going to give this a 9.25 for fun factor. I was really close to giving it a 9.5, but I think I'm going to have to go with 9.25. What a great car. I would love to own a Cayman R, but you know what? I'll do just fine with my own base Cayman. And maybe I'll get another chance to drive one of these down the line. So that's my review. I hope you liked it. If you like this review and you like the videos you see on our channel, please subscribe. It helps us create more content and helps us gauge what people like and what they want to see and produce future content. So please subscribe. Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and we'd love to hear your comments in the comment section. Did I get a fact wrong? Do you have another opinion? Or do you just want to share some love with PCA? Leave a comment. And that's it. My review is finished. Until next time.